Good evening and welcome to the 2019 School Board Candidates Forum sponsored by the Hopewell Valley League of Women Voters. My name is Joanne Held and I'm the president of our local league. Our league is dedicated to voter education and to increasing voter participation here in the Hopewell Valley. We welcome men and women who live in our community to join us in this effort, and we have membership applications if you're interested. We invite those who are here tonight to stop and look at the materials we have provided on the back table. They include a card with key dates for this coming election and a flyer about the 2020 census. On Saturday, October 19th, we will also be hosting an opportunity for you to meet the candidates for our various municipal offices. The meet and greet will be held from noon to 3 p.m. in the new community room at Hopewell Valley Central High School on West Delaware Avenue. We hope you will stop in. We're happy to host this opportunity for the Hopewell Valley Regional School District School Board candidates to discuss with you the many issues facing our school district. We welcome the energy and fresh ideas that these candidates bring to the discussion. This forum is streaming live right now. It will also be rebroadcast on Comcast Channel 19 and Verizon Channel 32. Details regarding the rebroadcast schedule will be available on our league website shortly. The League of Women Voters never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the league name or footage from the debate in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including internet, cable, or television, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters. As a courtesy to the candidates and to avoid interrupting the taping, please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices now, and please refrain from taking photographs during the forum. Tonight, we are not engaged in debate. Instead, we ask these candidates to share with us their ideas and their philosophy, to suggest solutions to the myriad of issues facing us here in the Hopewell Valley. I'd personally like to thank these members of our community for their willingness to serve in this important capacity. Our moderator tonight is Peg Gertz, a member of the Hopewell Valley League of Women Voters. Peg lives in Pennington Borough, which does not have an open seat in this fall's school board election. And now I'd like to turn this over to Peg.
Thank you. Excuse me. I'd like to start by introducing the candidates. There are two candidates for one seat in Hopewell Borough, and those candidates are Jessica Grillo and Elizabeth, or Liz, Maziar. And there are 5 candidates for 2 seats in Hopewell Township: Michael Coco, Peter DiDonato, William Herbert, John Mason, and Anatosh Patak. I'd like to review the general format for the forum. This format was shared with the candidates prior to getting together tonight. The forum will open with 2-minute opening statements by each candidate. I will then pose a round of 7 questions. Each candidate will be asked a new question and permitted 2 minutes to respond, and this will be followed by a 1-minute response by the remaining candidates. At the end of the questions, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. We request that the candidates and those who are assisting them in their campaign not misuse any part of the videotape of this forum, nor to videotape the forum while it is in progress. Any use of the league name or footage from the forum and campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters. So I'd like to begin with the 2-minute opening statements, and the first person to give the opening remarks will be Michael Coco.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for hosting this debate. My name is Mike Coco, and I'm from Titusville. I have 2 boys in Bear Tavern Elementary. I am a registered nurse and an attorney, and I did a clerkship with the New Jersey Supreme Court. I'm currently on the board of a suicide prevention organization as well as a community health board. As a member of the Board of Education, I would like to prioritize foundations in academics, and also I will work to stabilize taxes through responsible budgeting. Despite having one of the highest per pupil cost in the county, Hopewell Township also is not at the top of the rankings. So I would like to work on that as well. And I would like to prioritize school mental health first aid training to prevent tragedies and suicides. Also, our students should learn about nutrition so they're not big like me, and so that they have a good start for nutritional balance and health. Also, they should focus on STEM courses so that they excel in college classes and prepare themselves for the workforce. They should also have basic financial education, and I would like to see the formation of a committee on safety. I know that other candidates have similar priorities, such as keeping costs low and promoting diversity, and my stances reflect these principles. For example, in a recent question, I was asked about a policy on random drug testing, and I opposed it because these are expensive and they tend to target minority students and punishments and targeting. I would work hard as the board member to improve our schools. You can find out more at www.cocoforschoolboard.com. Thank you.
So my name is Peter DiDonato. I live in Titusville, New Jersey, and I have a son in Bear Tavern. He's in 5th grade. This is last year there. He's been through the school from Peach to 5th. My daughter, she currently attends Central High School, and we are very actively involved in the community from start to finish. My wife has been a part of the Bear Tavern PTO, and I have been involved alongside of her end to end. We recently developed a committee for the outdoor learning area, and I was able to help the school and the team construct ways to facilitate the ending portions of some of that construction there. I currently own and operate a consulting services company. We are primarily based in the New York City metro, New York City area, but we have clients around and operate in northern New Jersey and in Philadelphia. With what we do, we focus around collaboration and business intelligence. A lot of it is just around analytics and big data stuff. But a lot of what I've learned in the company and some of the things that I do around the community, but most importantly, my family, who's been very supportive through this entire, and I forgot to mention that I am currently a school board member. Probably one of the most important parts. I am a little nervous tonight, but I am actively involved in many things, and I'm just grateful to be a part of this community. And if elected, I will continue to do my work above and beyond for everyone. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Herbert, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to be here tonight. A little bit about myself. I grew up in New Jersey and attended public schools. After graduating from Duke University, NROTC group there, I served in the U.S. Navy for 4 years, achieving the rank of lieutenant. After that, I went to Vanderbilt University and earned my MBA in finance. I first moved to Hopewell in 1999 with my wife Diana, and aside from a 2-year stint in New York, we have lived here ever since. Our 2 daughters attended Hopewell schools, and our youngest recently graduated with the class of 2019. Through their 15 years in the school system, we've had the opportunity to benefit from the expansive and high-level academic and co-curricular offerings, as well as the top-notch teachers that a Hopewell education provides. My professional background expected when my term begins in 2020, I would be the only board member that can provide the unique and needed perspective of having no students currently in the district. I expect to work collaboratively, consider all alternatives to arrive at the best solutions, and do so in an open and transparent manner. In addition to the top priority of providing the best outcome for students, my running mate here, John, and I want to focus on transparency, fiscal responsibility, and good board operations. And I ask for your support in electing us to the board, where I believe as a team we are uniquely qualified to help in these areas. Thank you.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank Joanne Held and the League of Women Voters for putting together this candidate forum and giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is John Mason, and I have been a resident of Hopewell for the past 17 years. I have 2 boys at Central High School and have been in the district since 1st grade. My wife graduated from Hopewell Valley in 1997. I have a long history with the district and proud to be part of such a good district and good community as a whole. I've coached youth soccer and lacrosse and have had personal experience with special education in the district, which I feel has helped me build strong relationships in the community and has helped me gain a better understanding of our district. I attended St. Joseph's University, and I am a Marine Corps veteran and have worked in the criminal justice system as a bail bondsman for the past 16 years. My wife, Tori, works in the Robbinsville School District, currently serving as assistant principal at Pond Road Middle School. During my time in the Marines, I have learned the importance of collaboration and finding common ground in difficult situations. In 2015, my company tasked me with opening a new office in Philadelphia, where I used my relationship building skills to build and continue to run a successful office. Having my wife work as an administrator in a similar district, I'm lucky to have someone that continues to help educate me on issues that affect our district and children. If I were to be elected, I would strive to be open and honest with all stakeholders in the district. I feel we as a board need to be responsible and accountable with our decisions. I am here to support the administration while remaining cognizant of the economic realities faced by our taxpayers. I'm running with Bill Herbert on a ticket of integrity, fiscal responsibility, and the best outcome for all students. With his financial acumen, my community experience, and our shared passion for service, I feel we would bring a great value to the board. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashutosh Pathak. I have 2 sons in HVRST. One is in high school, and one just finished 12th grade and joined college, Rutgers. So we have been living in this area since 2011. I am a clinical oncologist. I took my fellowship from MD Anderson Cancer Center. And then after that, I have also done PhD in oncology. And then I went to Columbia University for MBA. In 2015, I was elected to the fellowship of Royal College of Physicians, United Kingdom, based on my overall contributions in the field of healthcare. I spent around a decade in academics doing cancer research. During that decade, I published around 100 scientific papers all over the globe and presented in various conferences, once again, all over the globe. The research also won 7 international awards. So overall, I feel that having been part of these great educational institutes really helped me in making the contribution towards the humanity through that research. Currently, I am a global medical head of a biotechnology company based in Washington, D.C. In addition, I established Princeton Foundation, a non-profit organization, Princeton Foundation for Peace and Learning. We work in the fields of healthcare, education, and world peace. We also started a fellowship to support college education of girls. In India, we started this in India, and now we are taking it to the global level. So far, 70 girls have completed college education with the support of our foundation. I have very few seconds left. So basically, I would say that I have been meeting various stakeholders over the last several days. Some of those stakeholders are here and trying to understand the complexities involved in the HVRST.
Thank you. Ms. Brewer?
Hi. So I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting the forum tonight and all of you for being here, taking time away from your families and your activities to educate yourself on the candidates. It's hugely important. So I hope I can use my time here to earn your vote as a Hopewell Borough School Board representative. My name is Jess Curlow. My family and I have been part of Hopewell Valley for years. My husband went to middle school here, graduated from high school, and we moved to the borough about 2 years ago. So if you ask my 4-year-old son Archie what I do for a living, he will say, Mommy helps people by solving problems. Now, he obviously did not come up with that himself, but it was the best that we could come up with for a 4-year-old who does not stop asking questions, which I'm sure some of you can relate to. But he's not far off from the truth, right? So every day I have to balance the needs of multiple groups and people. I have to provide recommendations and solutions, and I have to do that by backing it up with data and fact-based reasoning. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to solve the school board's problems, because I certainly will not, but I can definitely bring those problem-solving skills to the board. In addition, I have deep board experience, having served as the president of the Alumni Association of my alma mater, as well as serving on the board of trustees. So I bring that knowledge of process and procedure of boards to the table as well. Lastly, I think I would be remiss to waste any time up here without telling you how much I love Hopewell and Hopewell Borough. My husband and I moved our family here for the schools and for the town, but we have just fallen in love with the people and the community, and quite frankly could not imagine raising our children anywhere else. I feel like in the 2 years that we've lived in the borough, I have gained so much from the community that I hope you all will give me the opportunity to give back.
Hi, I'm Liz Maziar, and I'm running to represent Hopewell Borough on the Board of Education because I believe that public schools are a foundational part of both our communities and our society. Through the public schools, our children gain the knowledge and the skills that move them forward through life, as well as the values that will guide their journeys. And exposing children to a broad range of ideas, cultures, and life experiences throughout their schooling is essential if we want to raise broad-minded, competent, and resilient citizens. I've lived in Hopewell Borough with my husband and 2 children since 2013. I have 2 children in Hopewell Elementary School in 1st grade and 4th grade. My parents moved to Hopewell in 1979 to Titusville, in large part because of the quality of the school district. So I went to Bear Tavern, Timberlane, and Hopewell Valley Central High School. I have a BA in history from Brown University and an MS in journalism from Columbia. I have extensive teaching experience in higher education at the community college and the university level. I'm a trustee of Hopewell Public Library, and I'm sitting on that board. I also spent many years as a trustee of the Friends of the Seattle Library when I lived out there. I understand that we need high standards and a responsive administration. We need a supportive working environment for faculty and staff, and we need to be fiscally responsible while we provide these things. I have a deep commitment to this community, and I would work diligently to represent the interests of people of Hopewell Borough.
Thank you. So now we're going to begin the round of questions, and the first question will be posed to Ms. Maziar. Excuse me, the question. The Board of Education has set 5 goals for 2018 to 2020. They concern 1, social emotional learning, 2, student content mastery, 3, district safety, security, and communication, 4, sustainability and greening efforts, and 5, budget planning and facilities maintenance. Which of these goal areas would you personally like to focus on as a member of the school board, and why?
The first one was social and emotional.
Social emotional learning.
I would like to focus on social and emotional learning. I think it's incredibly important that we educate the whole child. You know, when my children walk into Hopewell Elementary School every day, they're walking into a building where they are loved, and that is hugely important. They're not coddled. There's expectations, and there are standards that they need to meet, both of behavior and academically. But they're loved, and that is something that is a gift, and that if we could give that to all of our children, that would be fantastic. I've taught college freshmen for many years, and I see as the years go by how much more anxiety rules their lives, and the way that the culture surrounding them feeds into these things. And if we could help our students from the very beginning sort of have ways to deal with the world and understand that it's okay to make mistakes and it's not the end of the world, and have outlets and resources. I think that would be a pretty amazing thing that we could do for them. I'm someone who's lost someone to suicide, and it's the worst thing in the whole world, right? So I think any tools that we can give them to help make their lives better and stronger are fantastic. Thank you. Mr. Coco?
I'm sorry, can you just repeat the second?
Pardon?
Can you just repeat the second goal?
The second goal is student content mastery.
I think all of these are important, and I would like to help with all of them. I'm going to pick safety here because safety should be a top priority for our students. Unfortunately, we live in a society where there's very real danger in a lot of different aspects of our schools, and that can come from what I work in healthcare, but also unfortunately we've seen a lot of violence in schools, especially in the last couple of years. So in terms of people who want to come into the schools and hurt our students, I would like to make our schools as safe as possible. There are more dynamic programs out there than simple lockdown. There's ALICE, we have a Stop the Bleed program, unfortunately, that we have to teach kids. But it's our trauma surgeons going out and telling kids how to help other students if a tragedy like this happens, and we have to prevent something like that as much as possible. Thank you.
So I have had the unique opportunity, fortunately, to work on a couple of these goals. Being on the school board, I mean, there's so many things that you want to tackle. I think the two areas that I would just continue to focus on, based on the committees that I would be a part of if I'm reelected, would be student content mastery, and to continue the effort in that space. So this past year, I have had the opportunity to enforce elements in OnCourse, just to help the exposure of the estimate versus the completion time for a student, to help them achieve the things that they need. The other portion of that is the safety and security, improving green efforts, safety and security, the generation and backup systems to keep the emergency response, continuing to support the policies that go into how the school operates in a safer manner, and much more. So I have a lot to talk about.
Mr. Herbert?
Okay. Yeah, I think obviously all of those things are quite important, but to me the number one thing for our students is really preparing them for life after high school, preparing them to be ready for whether it's work or trade school or college, and I think that has to be the social emotional learning. I think we have to make sure that they're emotionally ready and they're resilient and they can self-advocate, and they're willing and able to raise their hands when they need help, and reach out, and without fear of reprisal or feeling different from others. The other one for me, I don't think any of these things can be accomplished if we don't have prudent financial planning. And I think that lines up very well with my background, and so that would be the other top interest for me. Thanks.
Thank you. I would say for me, the social emotional learning would be the most important here as far as where I feel I could help. I truly believe having the whole student, not just concentrating on the academics, but helping develop the whole student, helping them become self-reliant, self-resilient, to be able to handle stuff will help as far as even with the safety. A big aspect that leads into safety with problems is when kids feel alienated, when kids don't feel part of the fabric. And by concentrating on social emotional learning, I feel we can bring the kids into that and prepare kids for life. When they get out of Hopewell and they get out of our bubble, they'll be more prepared when they get to college. But they'll be more prepared to deal with the trials and tribulations of life. And I feel that helps with the student mastery of the content. You have children that are self-resilient, they'll self-advocate, that will help there. So as much as all of this is very important, I feel if we concentrate on the social emotional learning, that will really be a great step. Thank you.
To me, as you all know, all these are important points, but most of you who are involved with the board know that there's a lot of discussion going on around the budget. So, of course, organizing the resources, finances, those are the fundamental based on which you can develop the strategy for other aspects, the four other aspects goals which the HBRSD has selected. One of my electives which I spent extra time on during my MBA was corporate strategy. So to identify the gaps, to prioritize, to focus the resources on the top priorities so that you are not dealing everything. Of course, there are so many things we need to deal, but what are the top priority items? And that is why I am reaching out to various stakeholders. I have reached out to several board members and reached out to the administration, parents, and even some of the students to understand what are the top gaps. And then based on the discussion and feedback from various stakeholders, I will identify the top priorities where we can focus our resources and our budget.
Thank you. Skrilla?
So for me, I think there are two. I think social emotional learning is hugely important. I was just reading an NPR article that was talking about how our brains are socially gated. So relationships and collaboration have to come before communication and content. And if we want to continue to raise caring, engaged human beings who are socially active and part of their community, we need to keep a focus on the social emotional learning in the district. And then I also would be interested in I think the financial piece is very important. I think we have a huge opportunity next year to be more transparent in our budget process, to be more communicative with our citizens in the district, and I think we should take that opportunity, and I think that we should do what we can to bring people together.
Thank you. The second question concerns school safety. Please describe one approach that the school district should consider to improve school safety. And we're going to start with Mr. Coco.
So one of the issues that I touched on earlier is response to crisis events. And I think that it's important that we have a crisis event management system in place so that if there is a situation at the school where students are in danger from some sort of either person who would like to harm them or some sort of natural disaster or event, we can have a very good process in place so that we can get students to safety, we can get our law enforcement and our emergency medical teams in, and we can teach students how to be safe until that help arrives. There are different dynamics that are proposed by organizations like the Department of Homeland Security, as well as private organizations that study these things. They study events such as active shooters, and perhaps one of the only upsides to the shootings that we've had is that we've learned a lot, and we've learned a lot about how to prevent them, and we've learned some myths about multiple shooters and how quickly these things happen and the best ways to respond to them. So I think that putting some of those top research, most recent research strategies in place and controlling access to schools is a top priority, as well as I've focused on, I mentioned mental health first aid. We need to have our students feel that they can talk to people and they can open up to their peers and to their counselors. And we need to have a very open environment so that they can share what's going on, not just with them, but perhaps with their friends or people they might be concerned about, so that we can get them help. And I think that those two strategies married together would do well to improve the safety in our schools. Thank you.
Mr. DiDonato?
Yes, I was actively involved in a lot of the school safety discussions. I don't think there is a single answer, but I know there's always room for improvement. So a lot of the things that we were able to put in place included, additional training for the staff, the students specifically. Like they did years ago, we used to train the kids for earthquakes or some sort of war. We do the same thing today in the schools. Can it be better? 100%. I think that we should continue to focus on bringing in third parties to evaluate our current processes, continue to invest in committees with the children. The children have to respond and be a part of a very open group to let us know how they feel, not just with the safety, but how they feel about just the general presence of all the things that we're changing within the schools. Safety security officers, police, and all this active stuff that we're doing as far as changing in the school, the kids have to feel safe, be safe, but also be, a part of this process that's invisible and transparent.
Thank you. Mr. Rupert?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I'm not an expert in security, but there are some things that I think we need to do a little bit better. I think we need to, first of all, make sure we're doing ongoing training. We need to, and I'm in favor of whatever we do, doing it in a welcoming environment and making sure that, we're not, I'm not in favor of things like arming the teachers and putting chains on the doors and things like that. And I think we really, whatever it is we do, we need to have consistent policies. It has to be consistent across schools. It has to be consistent across time. And I think, there are instances right now where we don't have that. And I know, for instance, at the high school, where my daughter just graduated, there's a single entrance. Students are forced to go in a single entrance, but teachers can go in anywhere. If that's a good security policy, it should be a good security policy for everybody and not just the students. So consistency, I think, is key.
Mr. Mason?
Thank you very much. First, I would like to say, when it comes to security, I think we'd all be a little naive, except for Mr. DiDonato, because we're not on the board. I don't know exactly what is in place that we can improve on. am eager, especially with the military background, to know what's in place. The one thing I will say that I feel is very important is training. Training for resource officers that we have in the school, training for teachers, training for students as well. But I look at the tragedy in Parkland, and what's the one thing that stood out to a lot of people was the sheriff that was there and didn't act. I truly believe that if you're a school resource officer or you're assigned to help protect the students, you need to be constantly training. You need to be that if, God forbid, that worst nightmare comes, that he is ready to react, to act. And from my military experience, that's why you did stuff in the military. You're like, why are we doing this over and over? Then you get in a situation and you're like, oh wow, it was second nature. And especially for the school resource officer, I'm not saying drill kids. I'm not trying to scare children, but it's specifically for the resource officer and for teachers. Training is vital.
Mr. Patak?
Yeah, so as several of my friends here suggested, there's not one central switch based on which you can decide or you can make a school safe. It's a mixture of various initiatives. For example, presence of police, crisis management, so that there's no chaos at the time of emergency, enhanced vigilance training to the kids, so they are vigilant. If they see something, they say something. So basically enhancing the suspicion level and hearing those suspicions, because there have been some instances when the kids were or people were aware of impending problem, and not in this area but in some other parts of the country, it did happen that no action was taken. So a combination of all these factors, I think that will make the school a safer place.
Thank you. Ms. Grillo?
So I agree with much that has already been said tonight. I think there is not one solution. I believe if there was, we'd have found it already and we would have implemented it. I will be clear though that my stance is that the solution to gun violence is not the proliferation of more guns. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But I think that there is a way for us to maintain a loving school environment and keep our children safe. And I think training is part of that. I think reviewing what our security protocols are and consistency across all of the schools is important.
Ms. Mausier?
Yeah, so I'm going to echo all of this. Yeah, and controlling access, I think is hugely important. Consistency is hugely important. Not bringing arms into the school in any way, shape, or form, I think is hugely important. And maintaining openness, as you were saying, having students feel like they can talk about things so they don't feel alienated, and then that leads to terrible things, or so then, they can help their friends or what have you.
Thank you. Susie, the third question. The school district is working to address the occurrence of bullying in our schools. Recently, they completed a school self-assessment of efforts to implement the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. What next steps would you propose for consideration to further address bullying and other types of harassment? And we're going to start with Mr. DiDonato.
First and foremost, this goes beyond what transpires in school. There's a lot of activities today, especially with technology, that kids gain access to, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, you name it. There's all these plethora of social sites out there that condone different types of behavior that usually tracks into the schools. One of the areas of focus I think that we could still improve upon in the district, and I think this will be never ending, is that we have to get away from the punishment aspect of it. There's great ways to detect when there's an over empowerment, either from a single person or a group. I have personally grown up being bullied a lot in my life, and where I stand with this is that there are ways to improve upon how we can communicate and collaborate with either on the receiving end or the senders. There are ways that we can better improve how we train the kids that are actively involved in that, and that could be, he said this, she said this. It's a world that we live in today because we want to be better in one way. And the kids see this and try to tackle it in a way that makes the most sense to them, or they tackle it in ways that are the easiest. So where I think we can improve, obviously, are at the school level. We have to start with policies that continue to promote just training with kids, continued training, and just providing a balance of structure at the student level and throughout the schools. And that's.
Thank you. Mr. Herbert?
Thank you, yes. I think, the number one thing I think we can do is really better train our staff to recognize when it's happening and to help intervene and engage with these kids, especially as early as possible in all of our schools. And then also, policies, put policies in place in the schools to deal with that and to handle it. How do we bring the parents in? How do we structure it so that the kids have the supports that they need when they're being bullied, and then the bullies themselves can be identified and it can be addressed as early as possible.
Mr. Mason?
Thank you. I do agree with Mr. Herbert. It's very important for us to have teachers trained to be able to recognize. I feel to be able to step in early when they start seeing something building, be able to get there before it gets to that point, it can turn from a punitive type of situation to a teaching type of situation. I do feel it's very important. The middle school, I feel just middle school with the age, I feel middle school has the most instances of bullying. And that comes with the age. That comes with the kids at that level. So I would like to see concentrate there. Bring in more diversity into the middle school. More lessons for training, as Mr. DiDonato said, but lessons. Try to get kids in 6th, 7th grade and really show them diversity, different backgrounds for people, that there's more, to make it a more accepting and warm, welcoming place. I feel would be a great way to try to combat that.
Mr. Patak?
Yeah, sure. So I will say one of my sons, he did face bullying briefly, but the school administration stepped in very quickly, and totally to my satisfaction, they addressed the issue. So I have very high respect and regards for the school for taking that action. I think bullying is an issue which needs a little bit of philosophical approach. Why the bullying is happening, why a kid is indulging in bullying? Probably because he doesn't have anything better to do, right? So finding a purpose, a meaning in the life, it's not something you start exploring when you become adult. These are the kind of philosophical approaches you need to cultivate when they are young, when they are still kids. Thinking about cultivating holistic human being, taking their focus away from the I, me, and myself, thinking more about the society, thinking more about making contribution towards the society. Those kind of positive training and education we need to give as a parent at home. Only then these kind of bullying and other issues will stop.
Ms. Grillo?
So again, agree with much of what has already been said. But I think if we focus on the social emotional learning aspect, we will create that holistic student that we've all been talking about. We will create the environment that is collaborative, where students see differences and accept them. But I also think we need to push a bias to action, right? We need to have a bias to action as teachers and to address problems when they see them. And our students need to feel like they have the ability to action if they feel like they're being bullied, or if they feel like there's something that's happening. And our staff needs to be receptive to that.
Ms. Mausier?
Yeah, again, all of it. But I think we need to teach children to be kind from the get-go. My daughter's in 1st grade, and last week she was talking about some boys who were bullying her, and I spoke with her teacher about it, and the first thing that she did was have her look those boys in the eye and tell them what was wrong. And then the 4th grade teachers were also talking about teaching the 4th graders or reminding the 4th graders about eye contact, right? So it's just this idea of treating each other like human beings, and it can get lost in the world of social media and all of these other things where it's very easy to say terrible things about people when you don't have to look them in the eye. But just teaching kindness and engaging humanity from the get-go, I think, is important.
Mr. Coco?
Yeah, I echo everything that's been said here. I believe that it does go in hand in hand with the social and emotional learning. It would be great to have students improve on those areas. And bullying was epidemic. I remember, when I was a kid, and I'm so glad that they're doing a lot now than they used to. And I think that one of the things that would be helpful is to stop bullying immediately. I think that the longer it goes on, even if it's tolerated for a short amount of time, it changes the culture in the school. And when you change a culture in a school that accepts bullying to one that right away puts an end to it, I think that that will have a impact on the rest of the culture and the rest of the school, and it will help prevent bullying all around. And I think that kids and teachers should be empowered to know that they can step right up and say something about bullying and prevent it.
Thank you. Our 4th question In addition to serving on the board as a whole, board members also serve on committees. Which committee do you believe you could contribute most to, and why? And this will start with Mr. Herbert.
Yes, thank you. I think the committee that I'm most interested in, I think could be the most helpful on, is the Finance Committee. I think, you know, there were some issues this past year with the budget that we all know about, and I think there were, you know, starting from the fact that, you know, there was a lack of, I think, a lack of transparency and communication in putting out the information beforehand and before the preliminary budget came out. And so, you know, I think for me that is, and that's kind of my area of expertise. It's where I've spent most of my life, 25 years in the corporate world. I've been mostly in finance roles, and so I think that's where I could bring the most value to the board. Thanks.
Mr. Mason?
Thank you. The committee that really interests me is the Community Relations Committee. I do feel, especially with the most recent budget, I don't think the information was as readily available and communicated with the community as much as I would like to have seen. I think it's a huge, I think one of the biggest roles of the board is being that conduit between the community and the administration and as the district as a whole, and I would want to be on that and get the message out to the community, like to be able to explain why we are doing what we're doing, what the importance is, even in the most difficult situations, which isn't always easy to tell the community why you're making a decision that people might not like, but it's vitally important for the board's success to have a strong understanding between the community and the board. And I think it would help with the administration as well to be able, as the board, to be able to get that message out so everybody essentially is on the, not everyone's going to be on the same page, but everyone can understand why we're doing what we're doing.
Mr. Patak?
Sure. So two committees I will be most interested in. One is the where we develop the curriculum. Because of my academic background, I feel that is where I can make some positive contributions. And second is the budgeting and finance committee, because as I said earlier, during my MBA, I took an extra credit course on the corporate strategy. And for a brief period of time, I was the chief strategy officer of one of my previous companies, which is a huge $70 billion company, global company, and working as the chief strategy officer of that company gave me a lot of experience. It's not just about the money or finance, it's about prioritization, how you develop the strategy. That is a kind of experience and experience I can bring to the committee, and I think that will be very helpful for the school board.
Ms. Grillo?
So I think I'm most interested in the Community Relations Committee as well. I spend a lot of my time, my professional time, working with employees, mobilizing employees, engaging employees, collecting qualitative people data, and then turning that interaction with employees and that engagement into solutions and feedback that is actionable. And I think that was a large part, as I've said before tonight, of what was missing during the budget process this year. And I think that there's a real opportunity for us to change that next year.
Ms. Maziar?
With my background in academia, I am certainly interested in the Education and Programming Committee. I'm also interested in community relations. Before I taught, I was the communications director for a state agency, and so I have some real solid skills to bring to that table.
Mr. Coco?
Yes, I would be interested in the Education and Program Committee as well. I think that committee gives you the opportunity to touch on a lot of the things that we've been discussing tonight, on increasing our STEM programs, on keeping our students healthy with health classes, and also looking at how these programs will impact the budget, how expensive are they, and also for safety education and safety programs as well. So that would be a good committee that I would be interested in. I've done a lot of school. I've gone through a lot of academics in biology and in nursing and in law, and I have a pretty diverse background in all areas of academics and programs. So I feel that my skills would be put to use well in that area. Thank you.
Mr. DiDonato?
Yes, I would like to continue my efforts on the Finance and Facilities Committee. First and foremost, not because of the finance part, but mainly because of the facilities portion. I think there's a lot of elements in facilities that can be improved upon, especially just controlled maintenance and some of the things that we do year over year. The finance part, to be honest with you, a lot of this is controlled by business administration. We have Bob Calavita, who's 7 years for Center of Excellence for Financial Reporting. It's one of the best in the country. There are elements and decisions that we make that can be improved upon, without a doubt. I would love to be a part of the negotiations committee. I think a lot of what transpires in negotiations rolls up into what the budget actually is. 75% of our budget are salaries that go into salaries and healthcare. So I think a lot of that portion, the drivers for our budget, could be controlled of what we do in negotiations. So that's where we'd like to sit.
Thank you. Next question. Are there educational program initiatives or district goals that you would like to see included in next year's budget or planning efforts? And we're going to start with Mr. Mason.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. I'm sorry. Apologize for the hoarseness. Are there educational program initiatives or district goals that you would like to see included in next year's budget or planning efforts?
Educational goals included in next year's budget. I would really like to be honest, I don't have a great answer for you. If I don't have an answer, I'll be honest. I would like to take a stronger look at what the goals are for the board going forward, to see what the board is planning to do, what goals the board has set forth already, and then I would like to take that and try to build on top of that. I don't have one particular that I look at. I don't have something that really sticks out to me that says this is really what I need to concentrate on, and this is what I would like to see. However, I'm always open. I always want to see improvements. I always want to see us try to strive forward to take the next step. So I honestly, when I get on the board, I would like to take a closer look to see what the initiatives are and see where we could build from there. Thank you.
Mr. Patak?
Yeah, I have, fortunately, I have a very specific answer to that. College preparedness. And there are very clear set parameters which define the college preparedness. In college preparedness scoring, Hopewell Valley Regional School District got 53% out of 100. And the best school in New Jersey got 100% out of 100%. So obviously we have a lot to cover. There's a big gap here. And I can go through those parameters which define the college preparedness. There are 5 parameters. Those can be specifically brought into the HVRSD goals. And I will be working I would love to work with the other board members to discuss about how best we can implement those learnings from those school districts and implement it here in HVRSD.
Thank you. Ms. Grillo?
So, from my perspective, the school board sets the comprehensive vision for the district. So I think we need to start there. I think we need to think about what kind of district do we want to be, and to John's point, build down from there. I'd also be interested in understanding how we progressed against our goals this year, and take a look at what we've done and how we've tracked, and see if any of them are worthwhile that we should continue to invest in.
Ms. Mazier?
Not so much from a budgeting point of view, but from a planning point of view, I would really like to see the district look more at sustainability as an ethos. I think that, there's a lot of talk, and there's green teams, and there's all these, a lot of cute little things that are done, but think, as we educate these children that we're going to send out into a world that is going to be completely changed in terms of, weather and climate and where the oceans are and where the resources are and all of these things. How can we both prepare them for that and do our part as a district to, not make it worse?
Mr. Coco?
Yes, I would like to see the district continue and enhance its focus on technology. I mean, technology is huge, whether you're going into a college for technology or if you plan to enter the workforce. I know that we have coding programs, which I think are great. We have robotics programs I think are great. And getting kids exposed young to what is essentially going to be, the future in technology and coding and for a lot of perspectives, and it's going to touch just about every other area in information technology, that is definitely a good investment. And also there are small things that we can do that I think will really help the student body, for example, in terms of just basic personal finance. Why are not our 19-year-olds ending up with $15,000 in credit card debt right out of school? And just some basic things like that we can really help with, that would be practical and fairly easy to implement.
Mr. DiDonato?
There's a few areas. I think one of my strong points would be to expand STEAM or STEM. With the introduction of arts, I think it sort of balances the whole child. We started with STEAM, I think it was 5 years ago, with the 4th grade class at Bear Tavern. My daughter was one of the first to be actively involved in that. I'm grateful that they're expanding this out to all the elementary schools. I think we can do better, and I think that should be one of our goals, is to continue to improve upon that. The second portion of that, and I've been actively involved in, is the outdoor learning, which is really just a segue into a lot of the things that we're learning inside, but it's basing things on how we are as a globe. And I think there's important aspects to that. The last one, and I think this could be bundled in with some of the others, but it's cross-district, cross-county conversations. Kids meeting with other kids in other districts that are more diverse, that are less diverse, that are all a part of one unit. And I think that's where we need to focus.
Mr. Herbert?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, not having been on the board, I'm not too familiar with what the goals have been in the past. And so I think, as was said before, taking a look at what they've been and how we've performed against them as a starting point to see where we might need to go. But the second thing I'll agree with Pete. I think that the STEM program adds a lot of benefits, and I think we should go back to it being a choice program where we brought kids in from other districts. I think that was a real benefit to our students and a benefit to those students, because they got a chance to do something that they probably couldn't have done in their schools, and it gave our kids the exposure to kids from other communities. And as an added bonus, it allows us to use some of our capacity that we have with our declining enrollment, and brings a few dollars of revenue in to help the budget.
Thank you. And actually, that leads nicely into the next question. As our school population and educational needs change, it may be prudent to rethink the way that we use our buildings. Do you have any recommendations for consolidating or repurposing space in our buildings? And now we're going to start with Mr. Patak.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to address. Yes, this is one topic which did come during my discussion with some stakeholders. Yes, there are some discussions going on, even for this building where we are sitting right now, and there is a potential development probably happening near the Scotch Road area. So transferring this building and staff to that one. But on the other hand, there are arguments that this building is already paid for. So these are some of the arguments which are happening right now. I am also aware of some discussions going on around consolidating the elementary schools. Because when we compare with the West Windsor, they have probably one or two elementary schools. We have many, and some of the, like, there are 900 students in that one elementary school there in West Windsor. Here we have one elementary school with 265 or 300 students. So this kind of multiple location of the schools, that also adds to the cost, because you have to hire teachers and staff members for each of these facilities. So yes, there are some questions and discussions going on around that. I will not make a recommendation because I will admit that I am not fully aware of all the details. I will discuss with other board members, with other stakeholders, and then we will make a collective decision. Of course, this kind of decision cannot be made based on my recommendation. Community participation in these kind of discussions are of paramount importance. So I will reach out to other stakeholders, other board members, the community, and then we will come up with a solution which is agreeable to most of the people.
Ms. Grillo?
I agree that it needs to be a community conversation. I think that needs to include students, community members, parents, teachers, administration. I don't have a ton of feelings about this because I'm not well educated on the topic, but I will say I do feel like whatever we do, if there is any action, we need to make sure that we're not doing anything that decreases the quality of education for any of our students, and just make sure that we keep education the same if we're combining schools or busing students for longer.
Ms. Mazier?
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with Jessica. I don't have specific recommendations, but I'm open to, reviewing things that come up. I'm not sure how I feel about 900 students in one elementary school.
Wouldn't want to work there.
But yeah, as it comes up, I would be, if there are interesting and reasonable and feasible plans, they should certainly be considered.
Mr. Coco?
Yes, and I would, look at things on a case-by-case situation and what the building is and the proposed uses and the impact on the budget, and also, for future projects, whether or not that building might be useful. I do think that there's some value in keeping buildings and trying to use them for other purposes. I know there's talk about expanding the pre-K program, and perhaps if space becomes available, that could be an option as well. And for using buildings the best that we can in terms of having community conversations, and like the others have said, what the community feels about this, and perhaps student organizations and community organizations can participate in building use and try to just get the most out of what we have. And again, it would be on a case-by-case situation.
Mr. DiDonato?
The building that we're currently sitting in doesn't house students every single day. So the cost of upkeep to this is really, it's an area that we can definitely improve upon. So closing this district building, it's a very difficult decision. This is an area where, it's probably $2 to $3 million to upkeep this building for the things that we want to do. Hovnanian built hundreds of homes prior to Stony Brook being built. The township is proposing to build 3,900 more homes. So we have these difficult decisions about consolidation and what are we going to do with things. Yes, we're low on, total student count right today. 3 years from now, we could be inundated. So I think that we can better use this specific building for teaching if need be, or potentially even abandon it and consolidate into some of the other buildings that we currently have.
Mr. Herbert?
Yeah, I think, the reason this is coming up, obviously our per pupil costs are now the highest in the county. And part of the reason is our students per building is low and getting lower. But obviously redistricting schools is probably the third rail of school board discussion. It's not something you really want to, propose and talk a lot about. There are a lot of strong feelings, right? So people move to certain areas to be in certain schools, and it's a tough one. But, it's something that we have to continuously evaluate. As Pete said, there are some new developments in the drawing boards, but who knows if they're going to be here in 3 years or in 10 years. So there are a lot of things to consider. I think it's something worth merit that we have to really keep our eyes on and keep evaluating, but I don't have any specific recommendations at this time.
Mr. Mason?
I have to agree with I have to agree with Mr. Herbert. It's definitely something we need to look at. I do feel our per pupil cost has really has skyrocketed, and that's something we need to try to be creative and find a way to get that down, to get the no one wants a school with empty classrooms or classrooms with 3 or 5 people in it, and 5 students in it to a teacher. It's just your costs just are ridiculous at that point. But at the same time, we're in a district that has to redistrict to close the Tollgate and send kids down to Bear Tavern. People move into Hopewell Borough for a reason. They want that access to that school. So it's a difficult question. It goes back to another one. That's one as a board. This is where difficult decisions will need to be made. This is where we will need to keep the whole community involved in the whole and keep all stakeholders informed on why we're making that decision. And I'm being told to stop, so I will stop.
Thank you. Last question. Hopewell Valley is fortunate to have a very active and educated citizenry. How should we use experts in the valley to reduce costs and improve the effectiveness of our school district? And we'll start with Ms. Grillo.
Great. I'm gonna ask you to repeat it one more time.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Hopewell Valley is fortunate to have a very active and educated citizenry. How should we use experts in the valley to reduce costs and improve the effectiveness of our school district?
I don't know if I have an answer, but I love the concept of using people who are willing to donate time and resources. There are a lot of organizations that have it as part of their corporate philosophy where they allow their employees to volunteer and volunteer their own professional skills. And I would be hugely supportive of starting a program or a pilot program to see how that could work. I would think, the first thing that comes to mind is thinking about all of the specific technical classes that we have at the high school and all of the classes that are very specialized, that have, low enrollment. We're looking at class sizes of 8, sometimes 4, sometimes 1. And I would be interested in doing a study and listening to the community to see if they would want to engage that way to reduce costs. I love that idea.
Ms. Mazier?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how I would use experts to reduce costs in terms of improving effectiveness of what teaching. Certainly bringing people in from the community to have specific passions or skills to, share those with the children is always a great idea. Having people donate their time in whatever way is feasible. I mean, it's, tricky when we're talking about specific skills that we already have professionals doing those jobs. How would you sort of take the volunteers into that? But, I mean, it's potentially very interesting. Almost out there.
Mr. Coco?
Yes, and I like this idea a lot. I think that it involves the community, and it's one of the things that I was hoping to see more of. I work with a lot of different experts in areas, and it's good to sort of tap those people when needed. In my field, usually have to pay them an extra fee, but for our community, I do believe that there are a lot of people who have valuable information who would be willing to volunteer and share that with the board, and perhaps share that with students. Some business leaders might like to speak to the students about running businesses, or people in technology might volunteer to speak to them at a technology day, or I know we have some people on hand already for finance and things like that, but I do really like this topic, and I would like to pursue it if I was elected to the board, so that we can bring the community in, and I'm being told to stop.
Mr. DiDonato?
So effectiveness can only transpire if we involve more people, and agreed 100% with a lot of what has been said here. Mr. Coco, thank you so much. There's some things that we just need to involve more parties. What we don't do a good job of in the board is to have meetings specific with other larger committees like the Education Foundation, the League of Women Voters. There's a lot of local communities here, entrepreneurship, local businesses that we can involve specific with difficult topics and have conversations about some of these things where we can make changes. I think having discussions with local committees throughout our municipalities, the borough, the two boroughs and the township, about these specific things that either drive budget or decisions that will impact everyone. And it's a difficult area when we don't involve everyone, but try to understand what's transpiring throughout our township is most important.
Mr. Herbert?
Thanks. I think this is a fantastic idea. It actually reminds me of how we got the turf field at the high school. That never would have happened but for not only a bunch of groups in the community who contributed, but one person in particular who had an expertise, who donated massive amounts of his time to building that. So, this is along those same lines. And, while I don't have any specifics, I think, the idea of putting together a committee or something of that nature that would solicit ideas from or expertise and ideas from the community, as well as working with the administration to see what the gaps are and where they could use people with certain types of expertise. And let's see where those things match up and see what we can do with that. I think that sounds great.
Mr. Mason?
Yeah, I have to agree with what's being said so far. I think it's a fantastic idea. As you can tell from my one answer when I started, I don't know everything. The board's not going to know everything. We are lucky enough to be in a community where there's so many amazing professional people. But we need to tap into that resource. I think that's a fantastic. The more we can bring in, the more input we can get from other people, the more people get engaged with the school, with the community, with the board. I don't see anything that could be bad from engaging more. So I love it. I think it's something that the board definitely should be a priority. The more expertise you can get in a wide array of topics would do nothing but benefit the board and the students. That's eventually, at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. It's the best outcome for the students. If you can bring in experts that are going to help our students grow, I love it.
Mr. Patak?
Yeah, sure. So what we are talking about here is cost effectiveness analysis, and that is the one of the foundational analysis we do to run any efficient organization. Community participation, that is a key. I have reached out to several parents, PTOs, and other stakeholders in the HVRSD. There is a growing understanding that the community participation here in Hopewell, even though community is very good, very great, but the participation is low. So we will have to come up with the measures and engagement approaches to engage the community. There, as you are saying, there's a lot of resources available in the community. For example, I went to Columbia and my business school has a special program on social entrepreneurship. I can bring a lot of Columbia Business School students here to work with HVRSD and come up with the solutions. We can reach out to big companies in this area like Johnson & Johnson, BMS. I don't think there's any contribution being made by those companies to the community, to the HVRSD. So we can come up with these ideas and involve them.
Thank you. We're going to go now to the 1-minute closing statements, and we'll start with Mr. Herbert.
Good. Thought we were finishing with Mr. Herbert. It's all right.
You drew the magic number.
Right. Okay. Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this event, and I'd really like to thank all the audience members for joining us. I've enjoyed the opportunity to discuss some of the challenges that we face. I think we're all lucky to be living in a district that has so much going for it, but as we've discussed tonight, there are still several areas where we can improve to ensure Hopewell education meets the needs of all of the students. As a board member, I will contribute in a number of ways. The first is fiscal responsibility, which I believe is sorely needed after the unnecessarily high increase in the budget this year. Additionally, I think my background, experience, and temperament will be valuable in improving the areas of transparency and communications. So please visit our Facebook page and vote for Herbert and Mason for school board. We'd love to talk with you, and we'll be at Wildflowers on October 23rd to share more and hear from members of the community. We want to work together to be your voice on the school board. Thanks.
Mr. Mason?
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters again. I think this has been a great forum. I appreciate the opportunity to come and sit in front of the community and discuss some of my ideas. I would like to thank everyone else up here in the forum. Everyone, you know, the school board isn't a political, you're not getting, this is a service board, and I think everyone that wants to serve the community, everyone should be commended. I see there's school board members in the audience too, which I think is a very telling thing. I love our school. I would be honored to be a part of the school board, to serve the community, to serve our students. Once again, please come out and visit us next Wednesday, Wildflowers. But yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Mr. Patak?
Yeah, I would like to thank League of Women Voters, the audience, and various stakeholders who agreed to speak with me to discuss the issues being faced by the HVRSD, and sharing with me some of their vision about how to address some of these problems. I think my background and understanding of the corporate strategy and running some significant organization which are highly efficient will be very helpful in making my contribution towards the HVRSD. Last but not the least, Hopewell Valley is a great community. We all talk about the diversity. And when you want to embrace diversity, who do you vote? Remember this.
Ms. Grillo?
That is tough to follow. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight, and just thank you for the opportunity, the fact that we can all come up here and collaborate and share ideas about, you know, how we feel about the district. I just think is such a wonderful thing. I hope I've demonstrated my commitment to the community tonight. I hope I've demonstrated my ability to listen, to engage, to, you know, think thoughtfully. And I hope that those are things that you want in your school board representative for Hopewell Borough. And I hope that I've earned your vote tonight.
Ms. Mazier?
So thank you for having us. I love this community. I love this school district. It's where I went to school. It's got a soft spot in my heart many, many moons ago. It's a special place for a lot of reasons. And, you know, when we discuss all these things and when people think school board, you know, it's sort of automatically, it can go dark very quickly. And it's not that we don't have important things to wrestle with, and it's not that there aren't contentious issues. But as we wrestle with those important things and we confront those contentious issues, it's important not to forget all of the amazing and wonderful and positive things that happen in this district. And I would love to work collegially with board members, administration, community, and students to serve all the needs of all the students in Hopewell Valley. So please vote on the vote.
Mr. Coco?
Thank you, and yes, I'd like to thank again the League of Women Voters and all of you in the audience today for coming out, as well as all of the other candidates here. I would bring a unique perspective to the school board in terms of my background in health and law, and I know we talked a little bit about negotiations and where the budget is concerned, and I would work hard for the negotiation side to reduce costs so that we could prevent the tax hike really that we saw this year, and also build a community where we value STEM and mental health awareness and safety. I would also, think we should praise our teachers. Our teachers do a great job, and get the community involved. We have a great community, and I love the idea of having people come in and help us out. So please vote for me on November 5th, and you can visit my website at cocoforschoolboard.com. Thank you.
Mr. DiDonato?
I want to just thank you, thank my fellow candidates for showing up tonight, because this is a difficult job, and it does take a lot from you. But when you reflect and you look at the very important thing, and that is, it's for the children of our future. We do everything. I do everything for all children, and my children realize that they have to share their father with many other kids. I want all of the kids to succeed. I want this community to succeed. If I'm reelected, and I think there's a huge benefit to having a board member be reelected, and that is you lose 1 year just in training alone. I've had all the training and a lot of advanced training. So I do want to thank the League of Women's Voters. Thank you so much. Most importantly, I want to thank my family for putting up with my late nights and doing school board stuff. But most important, the community. If it wasn't for this village to help raise our children, I don't know where we'd be. I'm beyond grateful for everyone and their support. Thank you.
And I would like to thank the candidates for their willingness to run for school board and for their availability to participate in the forum this evening. As Joanne mentioned, the forum will be broadcast on Channel 19, which is Comcast, and Channel 32, which is Verizon. And a schedule of broadcasts will be available from the Hopewell Valley League of Women Voters on their website. I believe you can also, I think it's also going to be available on the school district website as well. In addition, you can find more information about the candidates, both for school board and for municipal positions at vote411.org. Rosemary? Will be our advertisement. Also a reminder, we will have the municipal candidates meet and greet Saturday from noon to 3 at the high school. And finally, please remember to vote on November 5th. Thank you all.
Thank you.